deep within a forgotten corner of the world, there existed a land untouched by time, a place where trees reached so high they seemed to brush the stars, and rivers sparkled with a silver glow. This was the Hidden Forest, a mystical realm known only to a few. In the heart of this enchanted forest stood a castle made of living wood, and within it lived Princess Evelina, the last of the forest royals. Evelina was no ordinary princess. She had been born with a unique bond to the forest. She could hear the trees whisper their ancient wisdom and understand the language of every creature that roamed beneath the canopy. Her long hair was the color of autumn leaves, and her emerald green eyes gleamed with a light that mirrored the forest itself. The people of the Hidden Forest revered her, for they believed she was the key to keeping the magic of the land alive. One evening, as the golden light of the setting sun filtered through the treetops, Evelina stood on her castle balcony, gazing out at her kingdom. Everything seemed peaceful, but there was a restlessness in her heart that she could not shake. Lately, the whispers of the forest had grown faint, and the once vibrant trees were beginning to wilt. Something was wrong. The next morning, Evelina decided to seek out the elder tree, the oldest and wisest being in the forest, to ask for guidance. The elder tree had stood at the center of the forest for millennia, its roots stretching deep into the earth and its branches towering above the clouds. It was said that the tree held the power of all life in the forest, and only those with a pure heart could speak with it. Evelina mounted her loyal horse, Lyra, and set off through the winding forest paths. As she rode deeper into the woods, she noticed that the once bustling forest had fallen strangely silent. Birds no longer sang from the branches, and the usual chatter of woodland creatures had disappeared. The trees, too, seemed darker, their leaves a dull shade of green. After hours of riding, Evelina finally reached the clearing where the elder tree stood. It was a massive, ancient thing, with gnarled roots that twisted like serpents and bark as thick as stone. The air around it was thick with magic, and Evelina could feel the weight of its presence. She approached the tree, her voice soft but determined. "Great elder tree, I seek your wisdom. The forest is fading, and I fear that the magic is leaving this land. What must I do to save it?" For a long moment, there was only silence. Then, slowly, the branches of the tree began to sway, and a deep, rumbling voice echoed through the clearing. "Princess Evelina," the tree said, "the forest is dying because its heart has been stolen." "Stolen?" Evelina gasped. "By whom?" "A shadow has crept into the hidden forest," the elder tree explained. "An ancient darkness that seeks to claim its magic for itself. It has taken the heart of the forest, a sacred gem that keeps the balance of life. Without it, the forest will wither and die." Evelina's heart pounded. The heart of the forest was the most precious treasure in the kingdom, hidden away in a secret grove known only to the royal family. How could someone have taken it? "What must I do?" Evelina asked, her voice filled with determination. "You must find the thief and return the heart before the next full moon," the elder tree replied. "If you fail, the magic of the hidden forest will be lost forever." Without a moment's hesitation, Evelina set out on her quest. She knew the path ahead would be dangerous, but she could not allow her beloved forest to fall into ruin. The elder tree had given her one clue. The thief had come from beyond the Shadow Mountains, a range of dark peaks that lay on the edge of the kingdom. It was said that nothing but evil creatures lived beyond the mountains, and few who ventured there ever returned. But Evelina was fearless. She would do whatever it took to save her kingdom. For days, Evelina traveled through the forest, crossing rivers and valleys until she finally reached the base of the Shadow Mountains. The air was cold and thick with mist, and the mountains loomed high above her like jagged teeth. As she began her ascent, she could feel the weight of the darkness pressing down on her, but she pushed forward, her heart set on her mission. As she climbed higher, the path grew steeper and more treacherous. Strange shadows flickered in the corners of her vision, and she could hear the distant howls of creatures lurking in the mountains. But Evelina was not afraid. She had the courage of the forest within her, and she knew that she could not fail. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, she reached the peak of the highest mountain. There, hidden in a dark cave, she found the source of the forest's suffering. A dark figure stood at the back of the cave, holding the heart of the forest in its hands. It was a creature of shadows, with eyes that glowed like embers and a voice that hissed like the wind through the trees. "You have come too late, Princess," the creature snarled. "The heart is mine now, and with it I will drain the forest of its magic." Evelina stood tall, her eyes blazing with determination. "You will never succeed. The magic of the forest cannot be stolen. It can only be given, and you are not worthy of its power." The creature laughed, a cold, bitter sound. "And what will you do, little princess? Fight me?" Evelina did not hesitate. She raised her hand, and as she did, the trees outside the cave began to stir. Their roots reached deep into the earth, their branches stretching toward the sky. The forest itself had come to her aid. "I do not need to fight you," Evelina said calmly. "The forest will fight for itself." With a roar, the creature lunged at her, but before it could reach her, the roots of the trees burst into the cave, wrapping around the creature and pulling it to the ground. The heart of the forest slipped from its grasp, and Evelina caught it just in time. As soon as the heart was back in her hands, a brilliant light filled the cave, and the darkness that had plagued the forest was banished. The creature let out one final desperate cry before it was consumed by the light, leaving nothing but silence in its wake. Evelina stood there, breathless, as the light slowly faded. The heart of the forest glowed softly in her hands, its magic restored. With the heart safely in her possession, Evelina made the long journey back to the hidden forest. As she crossed the mountains and entered the woods, she could feel the forest coming back to life. The trees were vibrant once more, their leaves shimmering in the sunlight, and the creatures of the forest had returned to their homes. When she finally returned the heart of the forest to its sacred grove, a wave of warmth and light spread across the kingdom. The forest was saved, and the magic that had been lost was restored. The people of the hidden forest celebrated Evelina's bravery, and from that day forward, she was known as Evelina the Guardian, the princess who had saved the magic of the forest. And though many years would pass and many challenges would come, the forest remained strong, its heart beating with the magic of life, all thanks to the courage of a princess who would not give up.